Okay, guys, so I told you that we would start using our rules for solving equations and inequalities to work with equations that have just letters. So today we're going to look at that and give it a shot. I'm going to do one that has numbers and then one very much like it that does not have numbers. And we're going to see how this works. You're going to realize you can do this the same way using all the same rules. So on our first problem, 2x plus 3y equals 9. We're going to solve for y. So at the top, let's say the instructions say solve for y. So to do that, I have to get the y by itself on the left-hand side of the equal sign. I'm going to use all the same steps. I have to get rid of the 2x first. So I'm going to subtract 2x from each side of the equation. When I do that, 2x minus 2x equals 0, so I'm going to cross that out, bring down my 3y. I cannot subtract 2x from 9. They are not like terms. Remember, a like term has the same variable to the same power. So I can just write that down. So I can write minus 2x, or negative 2x, plus 9. Now, I'm looking at 3y equals negative 2x plus 9. I have to get that y by itself, and I know the next step is to multiply or divide to isolate the variable. So I have to divide everything by 3 because the 3y pushed together means to multiply. So I know the opposite operation is divide. And what I do to one side, I've got to do to the other. So 3y divided by 3 is 1y. Let's see if I can. Negative 2x over 3, I'm going to leave that as a fraction because that's my slope. So negative 2/3 x, and then 9 divided by 3 is a positive 3. Let me see if I can move that real quick. Okay, so if we want to do the same thing with just letters, ax plus by equals c. I want to solve for y, so I'm going to do the same thing. I have ax that needs to move away, and I have a b that needs to move away because solving for y means I have to get the y by itself. Don't freak out, same steps. So I'm going to subtract ax from each side of the equation, right? Simple, just like if I had the 2x. What does that leave me? Well, if I have a positive ax minus an ax, that's going to be 0ax because that's 1ax minus 1ax is 0, right? I'm going to bring down my by, which means b times y equals, well, I can't combine a and c. They're not like terms. So I'm going to have negative ax plus c. Well, now this is the part where it gets a little bit tricky for some people, but don't freak out. Just remember, if we don't know what it equals, we just write it out. So I need to get the y by itself. B squished together with y means b times y. So I know I have to divide. And I have to divide by b to get rid of it. So I'm going to divide by b. And what I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So I would literally divide this whole side by b. So that means that's going to cross out and leave me just a y equals negative ax. Well, negative ax divided by b is literally negative ax divided by b. I don't know what those letters stand for, what numbers I would replace them with, so I can't assume to know what to reduce them to, so I'm just going to leave them like they are. Plus, I also have a c divided by b. So that would be my answer. And I could write it either way, but that is the answer that I would put in. Now, if you're using a program like Delta Math or IXL, make sure if it has a capital, you put in a capital. If it has lowercase, you use lowercase. Okay, here's a couple more examples. I took these right off of IXL, so this is the same thing you will be looking at. So the first one says solve for u in terms of v, w, and x. Don't let the way they ask it confuse you. It says solve for u. So that means I have to get the u by itself. So if I have x equals w, u, v. If I have letters squished together, that means to multiply. The opposite of multiply is divide. And what I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So I'm going to divide each side by w to get rid of the w, right? So I have x divided by w. I also have to divide this side by v to get rid of the v. So I can do that all at once, as long as I remember to do it to both sides. So that would leave me with x over wv equals, well, the w's cross out and the v crosses out, and that leaves me u. So u, I can rewrite that as u equals x over wv, and that would be my answer. So we're using the same rules. All right, this bottom one, solve for u in terms of q, r, s, and t. Solve for u. That's what I have to isolate, is my u. So I have ru equals negative q t s. Okay, I have to isolate the u. What is keeping the u from being by itself? Well, there's an r. And it says r times u, not r plus u, r minus u, r times u. So the opposite operation is divide. So I'm going to divide this by r to get the u by itself. And what I do to one side, I got to do to the other side, right? So I've got r u divided by r. So if 1r divided by 1r is 1. So we get rid of the r's. That leaves me u equals. Well, can I do anything over there? None of those are like terms. So I'm literally just going to write down what it says. Negative q ts divided by r. And that is my answer. This. And if you see, it already has u equals, so I'm just going to put in the negative qts divided by r is what goes in my answer space. Okay. One more example for you. And I just want to remind you that whatever you're doing, you're using the opposite operation in order to solve for what they're asking for. This one says solve for p. Solve for p. So I have p, v, and notice those are both capitals, equals lowercase n, capital R, capital T. Because when I put my answer in, it needs to reflect whether it's a capital letter or a lowercase letter. So I'm trying to get the p by itself. I have p times v. The opposite of p times v is division. So I'm going to divide each side. I know I'm going to divide by v because I'm trying to get p by itself. So I'm going to get rid of the other letter. So I'm going to divide by v, and what I do to one side, I've got to do to the other. So those cross out, those cancel out. Leaves me with p on the left-hand side equals lowercase n, capital R, capital T over capital V. And that is my answer.